Hi, everyone. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Cider and Port back for another video. Um, this is a very unexpected video that I'm doing. Didn't kind of think that I was going to be doing this one. It just kind of, I just kind of took the opportunity, wanted to for a while to talk about my experience with mental health. I'm going to be looking at the chat every kind of now and again. I don't have a link. I don't even have my earbuds in. I just kind of think it's just going to be better if I just kind of do this one solo. Um, so hi to everybody who's watching. Um, as I said, this is very unplanned. I don't really kind of have like a set kind of goal or things to like order. It might be kind of jumping all over the place, but yeah. Anyway, so from when I was uh as long as I can remember, I've always had this kind of issue with or you know noticed that I was very kind of not necessarily like angry, but I knew that I was different. I knew that I was kind of that like everybody else was acting in a certain way and I was acting in a different certain way and stuff like that. And I never really kind of had anything to call it. But when I was 14, I was diagnosed as being clinically depressed, which means that I am depressed 24/7. It's constant. It never goes away. Um, I'm depressed all the time. Um, it's just something that I deal with on a day to day basis. And look, I know that I kind of come across as the kind of happy go lucky, the person who's trying to kind of make everybody else laugh and everything else like that. And it's just like it's almost like a stereotypical form of what somebody who has depression goes through. They know what it's like to feel and be shit, and they don't want anybody else to feel like that, so they try their best to laugh it off and yeah, do all those things. So yeah, so that was me. That was me for a long time. Um, and yeah, I just uh, I've always wanted to make people kind of better and be happier. Um, and yeah, I just wanted people to feel good because I knew what it was like to be shit. Um, I've had a friend who has died by suicide. Um, and that was really, really, really tough because I know that at the time that this person did die by suicide, that I was having like a lot of those thoughts, and I was going through like a lot of what he would have been going through. Um, it's being clinically depressed. Like because I'm depressed all the time. I go through like bursts of being suicidal or feeling suicidal um, quite a lot. It'll happen every couple of months, where for a little while, um, I'll feel extra shit and I will have quite a lot of suicidal thoughts, and it's just something I've gotten extremely good at hiding it. Like people who know me, or I mean, like even just to kind of do like a better example, almost, I started a new job recently. If I was to say to them, that I'm clinically depressed and that I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts, they probably wouldn't believe me. But that's just because of how good I am at hiding it. Um, I This year, 2021, um, so far, probably been one of the worst years of my life. I wanted to do this video specifically a couple of months ago during it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And I wanted to do it then, but I just didn't feel like I was able to. I didn't feel like I was ready to, but I am now. So from maybe mid January till the end of July this year, for 7 months, I was suicidal all day, every day, and it's the longest that I've ever been suicidal for, and I was genuinely afraid for my own safety because I didn't know if I was gonna survive. I didn't know if I was gonna live or die, and it's it's really really tough, and it's so, like, we as a culture, we have this attitude towards death that it has to be like this, very taboo thing, or this very kind of thing that everybody goes through, and that everybody has their own coping mechanisms for, and everybody grieves in different ways, and everybody, has their own reaction to death. But I don't I don't know how I would have, felt or coped or anything else if I had have actually done it. I don't know. I don't know. Self harm has always been, one of those things that's, just say, on the table. I've never done it, thankfully. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things, you don't really kind of, I don't know, you don't really kind of think about, like, necessarily, like, some of the obvious bad stuff. You don't really think about that sort of stuff when you're in that mindset. Um, I'm so sorry. This is all over the place. It was unplanned, and it was, I just feel like talking about it, you know, it's not necessarily going to help me. If I was to talk about, my battles with mental health all day long, every day, if I was to do that, it's not going to help me because, like, just because I'm constantly depressed, and it's not something that I ever get away from. It's not something that I can ever just turn off or tune out. It's not. I can't do that. But what I can do is just learn to live with it, recognize that it's there, acknowledge that it's there, and live the best that I can. That's all. That's all I can do. That's all any of us can do. Um, but yeah, I just have I asked for help regarding depression. I've been in counselling from since I was 14 up until now, and I'm 26 now. So I've been in counselling for 12 years. It's not, it's helped and it's done absolute wonders. And look, I'm not trying to say or to suggest that, nobody seek help, or that nobody try and do anything if they do feel depressed. Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for me, it just doesn't, like, talking about it is therapeutic in a way, and it does help in a way, but it's I'm never going to fix my issue. I'm never going to go through, however long of counseling or even like intense psychotherapy, I'm like I could do that. I could go through that process, but it's not going to help me. But it can help you, and it could help somebody else. It's like essentially it's just a miswiring of my brain. I am constantly depressed. Um, so like I think it's important to recognize that there are limitations and that there are, certain boundaries and certain things that you're just not going to be able to overcome. And that is just one of mine. I'm never going to overcome depression. It's just something I'm going to have to live with. But I mean, in the same sense as, like, I've lost people. I've lost a friend to suicide. I've lost other friends. I've lost family members. It's literally it's part of the grieving process that, you know it's tough at first, and there's the stages of grief and stuff like that. There's the denial, anger, acceptance, whatever. um but eventually, after that, after all of the stages of depression are done, or of grief are done, you you haven't gotten over it. You haven't you don't now not miss the person. You've just learned to live with it, and it does get easier. um but you're never gonna, like, just, you know not ever grieve for them. You're never gonna, like, it's not as if, you spent a couple of months grieving, and then 6 to 8 months later you're just, I don't miss them, I don't grieve for them anymore, I don't wish they were here. That's not what happens. You just learn to live with it. It's always there, but you learn to live with it. You learn to just accept it for what it is, and carry on living. And that's exactly what I've done. I've accepted that, you know I'm always depressed. I'm always going to be depressed. Like, this is something that I'm always going to have to live with. But it's just, it's not about, it's kind of like, and look, it's not just depression either. Like, I have anxiety. I have anger issues. I have all of these things. And how I kind of like to look at it is, they're in the car with me, but I'm driving. They're there, but I'm driving. I'm in charge. I'm in control. And I think that that's the best possible, like, the best possible position to be in, from a standpoint where you're not even necessarily all, like, losing from the get go, but it's always going to be a little bit, it's always going to be like a downside, like, not even necessarily like a downside, but you're kind of, it's kind of like running a race. If you've been shot in the leg, you're kind of starting from a point of being, of, oh, fucking hell, you have a disadvantage, but you can still do it. You can still, like, live. You can still go through life. You can still do all of these things. um it's just something that it's just, yeah, that's, it's the best possible position that I think that I can be in, where I've acknowledged that they're there. I recognize that they're there. um these negatives, these downsides, they're there. But again, I'm in control. I know how to deal with it, and I know how to, you know make these, make the best of a bad situation. um but for me, it's kind of like, and I know that I have it in the title, but it's a pretty big trigger warning because I'm going to talk about um about suicide more, about my kind of personal experience with it. So massive trigger warning. You've been warned now. Um, I first attempted suicide when I was 15. Um, I have attempted suicide three separate times in my life. It's but for me, like kind of like talking with people who have lived with or who have been friends with somebody who has died to suicide. Um, it's kind of like you can kind of clearly see that like they wanted to die because whatever situation that they were in, was too tough or was too much to kind of deal with, or they like felt like they couldn't escape, the problems or the hardships of life and stuff like that, or like whether it was like they were being like mercilessly bullied in school and then they were coming home and then they were still getting bullied at home if it was from like one or more parents, or a sibling, or like anything like that. Like it literally just felt it was overwhelming, it was too much. I've had the same things, but I didn't necessarily want want to die. I just didn't want to be alive anymore. Um, and I know that that sounds a little bit strange, but it's it's not like it's not like the things that I was going through were, you know, too much in that sense, and that I felt like I couldn't deal with it, because I probably could deal with it, and I am now dealing with it. But yeah, I just didn't want to be. I didn't want to die because I recognized that what that was going to do to my family and to my friends, and I recognized that they were going to like obviously be traumatized and mourn quite a lot and stuff like that, and I knew that that was going to be part of it, but I just didn't want to die for those reasons, but I just didn't want to be alive anymore, and it was it's one of the it's I whew, sorry, yeah, that's just I just didn't want to be alive anymore. I didn't want to have to deal with the shit, and knowing that my life was going to be a fucking uphill battle, and this was always going to have to be something that I was piggybacking along through life with me. I always knew that it was going to be, and I just didn't want to have to fucking deal with it anymore. Um, I I attempted suicide the second time when I was 17. Um, exact same reasons. I just didn't want to be alive anymore. I didn't want to. Yeah, I just did. I was just my my head, my I don't want to get too you know spiritual on you, but my head, my heart, and my soul was just fed up of me portraying this happy-go-lucky character that I was most of the time. And so from when I was 17, I kind of, I don't know, turned into the grumpy old bastard that I am right now. And like, maybe that turns some people off, and maybe people don't like it or don't appreciate it or anything else like that. But it helps me, and it's the best way that I can kind of see to live life. And I was happier for a very long time doing it that way. And so my attitude for a very, very long time was, if you don't like me, then that's okay, because I most likely don't like you either. I think that's, just a good way to live life. But not obviously, if it gets to the point where you're kind of ignoring like actual like downsides, or like opportunities to improve on your character, on who you are, on stuff like that. Like, if it gets in the way of that, then yeah, it can be a little bit problematic. But I just I was just fed up of being of trying to be normal. um I just didn't want to do it anymore. um this year was genuinely incredibly tough. um I didn't want to. I was suicidal for so long, because in the past, and like when I've attempted suicide before, it only lasted for like a month and a half, two, maybe a little bit more. But to go from that to being constantly suicidal for 7 months, I just didn't know where to go and what to do. I was just so confused, and I didn't know. I just didn't know, like, how I was gonna get out of it, because there wasn't anything that necessarily kind of like triggered it, or there wasn't anything that necessarily like set it off or anything. It was just what happened. um uh, I'm not suicidal right now. um I'm not over it, never going to be over it. I'm going to be suicidal again, I know that I will be. It's just something that I just have to deal with. um but yeah, for those 7 months I genuinely feared for my own safety, because I didn't know, like, what was going to happen. It got to the point where 2.5 months went by, and I was kind of like, all right, okay, this is usually the point where it leaves me, and I'm okay, and I can continue living life, and just carrying on for the meantime anyway, until the next time. But then 3 months hit, and 4 months hit, and it wasn't going anywhere. um and then this year was the last time that I attempted suicide. I don't I don't I'm not going to pretend to have all of the answers or anything else. I'm just going to talk about me and my situation, my position. That's all that I can do. um but yeah, I just didn't. I was just genuinely afraid. um so what I learned from that, I guess, was that I am I am suicidal, or that I do. Oh, fucking hell! That I am afraid to die, but there are times when I just don't want to be alive anymore, and that's how I made the distinction. Because the last the last times when I was suicidal, I thought that I wanted to die. I thought that I just didn't, just want yeah, just wanted to fucking end it. But it was kind of good, or it was kind of productive in a really 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 twisted fucked up way. Um because I realized that I was afraid to die, that I didn't want to die, but I just didn't want to be alive anymore, because it was just too, like, sometimes it's just, you know it's just too fucking, it's just not worth the fucking effort. It's not worth the effort of pretending to be happy all the time, just so you can make some, you know what I mean, like, just so you can make the lives of the people around you that little bit easier, and I'm I'm worried. I'm afraid that people are gonna, I don't want people to worry about me. um I don't, yeah, I don't want people to worry about me. And so yeah, but it's also like, one of the other things that I kind of realized is that, like, taking on other people's worries or other people's concerns, not it's not worth it either. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not going to be very fucking productive. You know, absolutely nothing you can fucking do about it. So you might as well. I don't know, man. I just and then I have anxiety, and I'm I have self esteem issues. Even though, I've been in different communities online and stuff like that, it's sometimes I still feel like, everybody just kind of puts up with me and doesn't really, like me or anything else like that. And I'm not asking for compliments. I'm not doing that. I'm just explaining what it's like. It's just so strange, because, like, even though, like, you have this impression that people do, and that people want you around, and they invite you to things, and it's not even about online. This could be in person as well. That, like, people ask you to come to things, and people ask you to, hang out with them and stuff like that. But it's still like, I just have, it's kind of like I have this voice in my head that's just kind of, like, they don't really like you. They don't really want you. They're just fucking putting up with you. It's really 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 difficult. It's really tough, because I'm constantly, because then after a while I kind of realize that I have this unjustified, um like, bad mouthing maybe, or like this negative image of people who don't deserve it. you know um I'll fill in the blanks, just because of it just might be easier. I'm part of MathPig's like group or his, clique online, and sometimes I genuinely feel like there has been times where my brain says to me that he's just asking you to join the hangout, so because he's just being nice, because he's a nice guy, not because he actually wants you there, but literally just because he's a nice guy. And I feel bad. It makes me feel shit for even thinking that, because I know that it's not true, and I know that if he didn't want me around, that he'd say it, because there's been people who have been in his group that are not there anymore, and that's specifically because he said. But the point is that I can't help but have that like inner monologue in my head. Um, it's it you know it's the only kind of thing that I would hope that this video would kind of do, or that the main message that I want to put across with this video is: you have absolutely no idea what is going on in someone else's head. You have no fucking idea what they have been through, what demons or what battles they're waging inside of their own head. And it's the worst type of battle that you can have, because look, if you're getting bullied in school, right? Or if you're getting, like, if you're working with someone, I keep saying school because it's like where I was at the time, but if you're working with someone now and they're just an asshole and they're just constantly being a dick the whole, like, all day every day, and it's annoying, and it's something that you have to put up with, and it's something that you have to deal with and stuff like that, but you know that as soon as you leave, as soon as you go home, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to look at him. You don't have to listen to him. You don't have to deal with this person anymore. And but that's just the fucking problem, because if that situation is going on inside of your own head, you can't escape. There's nowhere for you to go. You know, there's just nothing that you can do, because it's constantly fucking there. You can go to work, you can go home, you can go to the gym, you can go to some activity that you like going to. You can do any of these things, but it's like it doesn't matter, because that battle is following you everywhere that you go. Um, and it just try to look out for the people that are in your life, and to the people that are like close to you, and that you know and that you love, because you've absolutely no idea. Um, One of my kind of other biggest things is I have quite uh, high walls, built up walls, um, and if I can kind of get a feel or get a sense that somebody is getting a little bit too close, um, I have pushed people away massively. I have attempted to kick people out of my life because they've gotten too close. Um, it's it's really really difficult, you know, because I don't want to do it. I don't want to push people away, but it's just a defensive mechanism, you know. Nobody necessarily wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to be that exposed. Uh, and yeah, just like nobody wants to be in that position of vulnerability, you know. Um, and yeah, like I've um, sorry, my head's just all over the place. Um, this is one of those things like where if I knew how like if I have had any clue even how to edit, just be Jesus Christ, it would be so heavily edited. It would be so many cuts and stops. I just know that like as soon as I can feel somebody getting very close, um, I immediately push them away. Immediately push them away. I've attempted to end friendships because somebody has gotten too close, and there is not a single person on this planet, living or somebody that I have known who is now dead, that knows 100% everything about me. There is not a single person. Nobody knows 100% of me. Even my co-host Kevin that was on the last video with me. I've been friends with the chap for 13 years. Literally half of my life. There's one friend that I haven't mentioned on here before, so I won't use her name, but I've been friends with her literally for as long as I can remember. Um, since like childhood, since we were kids. Um, but there's just nobody that knows 100% about me, and I don't even know if it's necessarily like a good or a bad thing, or you know, if that's what everybody goes through, if that's what everybody kind of, you know, feels, has, experiences. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, it's you know, it's super fucking tough, and it's something that I do think that people need to be kind of don't have to understand you, they just want to. It's not even that. It's just worse still is when you don't know everything about yourself because you blocked at the top. Yeah, that's also yeah, yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. Um, I you know, in in relationships as well. Like um I spent a lot of years um single by choice because I didn't know who the fuck I was. You know, I felt like I was like I didn't I didn't love myself, and so I was employing someone else to do it. Um, and it's not it's just I needed to take the time to figure out like who I was and to start loving myself, and that is a constant battle that I'm always facing, and every time that I go through a bout of being suicidal, it drops, and I fucking hate myself, and yeah, it fucking it ebbs and flows, and I don't know if the next time that I go through a period of my life where I am suicidal, I don't, I can't guarantee that I'm going to make it out the next time. I'm not saying that I have like any plan or anything like that. And again, I don't want to be alive, but or to die. But sometimes being alive is just it's just too difficult. And I don't even mean any of the kind of the smaller things, like oh, that, like, yeah, that, like, rent is pretty shit, like you have to be, it's nothing like that. It's the bigger things, and the just the shit that you've no fucking control over. um if those things start to feel like they're overwhelming, there's it can just feel like it's too much. um so yeah, I just wanted just to kind of come out and talk about the experiences that I've had, because I didn't plan this video, I didn't script it, I didn't do anything, I didn't even put in like bullet points or anything. I probably left out one or two things, but just know that if you saw me on MathPig's stream a couple of days ago, if you saw me on my stream last night, not last night, Friday night, and you can kind of see or tell a difference in me then and me now. It's not that I'm playing a character, it's not that I'm faking anything. Like, I am being myself when I'm on stream right now, and when I'm on stream, like, talking about like something in politics or doing a debate or anything else. Like, that is also me. That is also who I am. But there there is it's not that there's two sides to me. It's just that sometimes, I just didn't want to give off the impression like that's what I'm like all the time. And like, I'm always happy, and I'm always joking, and I'm always doing all of these things, and I just didn't want that to be the impression that people had of me, because this is also something that I go through. This is also something that I deal with on a daily fucking basis. And if there is anybody that was kind of thinking, oh well, Stephen from Cider and Port, that, like, yeah, he's always happy, like, he must have, like, even if he's not rich, like, he must have a good, must have a good life, must be happy. And yeah, I am, but not all the time, and nobody is all the time. Everybody goes through periods of their life where something happens, whether it be trauma based, whether it be grief, whether it be whatever it is, and it can have extreme negative impacts, and it can be extremely damaging and extremely detrimental. And nobody is perfect. And you can go to counseling, you could go to therapy, you can do all of these things, you can, you know, go to all of the self-help seminars that you can like you can do all of these things. You will never be perfect, and it's just one of the conditions. It's one of the eternal downsides to being human. uh None of us are perfect, and we will never be, but we can only be the best of, the best version of who we are. And that's not even like necessarily like who and what I am right now, but the only thing that we can like do is to just be the best versions of who we are. um it's not easy, and sometimes we will fail. uh but the biggest point is, and the main takeaway that I want even just one person to have from this video, is that not everybody is what you can see on the outside. If you see me as being, happy and always up for a laugh, and always, always taking the pick, the you know always joking with MathPay, calling them fake Irish, like always doing any of these things, and see it as like a benefit, or as a happy trait, or as, a positive thing. Just know that we are not always like that, and that there is always two or even more sides to people, and that not everybody is happy and is positive and is, as we see. And what I want people to kind of take away from this is, if you think, or if you sense, or if you have suspicions that somebody in your life, it might just be asking. It might not even be asking them like, are they okay, or anything else like this, but just check in, see, are people doing okay. I know from my own personal experience. It's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because I know that if somebody had have reached out to me when I was suicidal, then I probably would have fobbed them off and said that, oh yeah, no, like everything's okay, I'm just having a bad day today, or whatever it is. But I would have appreciated it, 100% 100%. So even if you don't get the savior moment of thinking that, oh, that like you saved somebody's life, just know that you, by reaching out, you made that person's day better, in a way that at the time there was no other positive or good thing about that day. And the feeling that you can give somebody, when, even if it's just one little moment of happiness or of positivity, in a day where it has been absolutely nothing but negativity and darkness and shit I cannot understate it enough how much of a positive impact you could have on somebody's life just by doing that. So if it's something that you think that you can do, just reach out. Just ask if everybody's okay. Because it really, really, really does do wonders. And it can have such an amazing impact. So yeah, that has been me. That has been my past, present, and quite possibly future battles with mental health. It is an ongoing thing. It is something that I always have to deal with, something that I will never be fully cured from. But it's just, yeah, it's just what you have to do. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody who came. I want to thank everybody who's going to watch this. Um, you know, if I had the impression that this video helped even just one person, that's enough for me. Um, until the next time. I suppose it'd be kind of the spirit of this video if I kind of ended it halfway smiling and said like, subscribe, do all that YouTuber bollocks, and we will talk to you in the next one.